this is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
Work can be a little weird. Cringy training seminars, coworkers who won't stop talking about their plant, forgetting the mute button at an inopportune moment. We have to deal with a lot on any given workday. Sometimes it can feel hard to thrive and move forward in your career. Well, that's where LinkedIn comes in. LinkedIn helps you get ideas and insights from experts in your field, connect with people professionally, grow your network, and access tools designed to help you find the right fit for your next role. Whether you're just getting started, figuring out your next move, or looking to accelerate your career, LinkedIn is built to support you at every stage because LinkedIn is the network that works for you. Visit linkedin.com/knowstuff to learn more. Stuff at Sea is a 5-night adults-only sailing trip that brings the Stuff podcast universe to life on board. This voyage is a culture-soaked escape where pink sand paradise meets curious minds. Sailing round trip from New York City to Bermuda on October 2nd to 7th, 2026, this voyage drops you straight into the iHeart Podcast Stuff universe. On top of the adults-only experience you already love, you'll get live podcast episode recordings, behind-the-scenes sessions, themed activations, and more unmissable onboard moments. Learn more at virginvoyages.com/stuff.
In business, there's no room for guesswork. Every shipment matters. Every deadline counts. When you're trying to keep operations running smoothly, the last thing you need is uncertainty. That's why reliability is at the core of USPS Ground Advantage. Each package moves through a secure, nationwide network tracked from dock to door with affordable, upfront pricing and delivery you can depend on. Because knowing your logistics are handled lets you focus on everything else. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to start shipping with confidence. USPS Ground Advantage.
Running a business is hard enough. Don't make it harder with a dozen apps that don't talk to each other. One for sales, another for inventory, a separate one for accounting. That's software overload. Odoo is the all-in-one platform that replaces them all. CRM, accounting, inventory, e-commerce, HR, fully integrated, easy to use, and built to grow with your business. Thousands have already made the switch. Why not you? Try Odoo for free at odoo.com. That's odoo.com.
Welcome to Stuff You Should Know, a production of iHeartRadio.
Hey, and welcome to the podcast. I'm Josh, and there's Chuck, and Jerry's here too. And this is Stuff You Should Know, as always.
As ever.
Chuck, I think we just broke our record for earliest edit in an episode.
Yeah.
That came quick.
You cleared your throat, and we, for some reason, are cutting it out.
Because it's not good stuff. People don't want to hear that, do they?
No, I don't know.
Maybe weirdos.
You're 15. We've established our unprofessional qualities.
It's true. It is true. Speaking of unprofessional qualities, you know who is terrible? Some of these emperors.
Very nice segue. Have you ever been to the Colosseum? You have, right?
Yes, it's amazing.
Did you go into it?
Yes.
I didn't go into it. I walked around it. And, this was my big European jaunt was when I was broke and backpacking. So, my friend and I did the best we could. We did walk outside of a lot of structures that many other people pay to get into.
You didn't have money for a pottery shard?
No, we had no dough to get in these places. But it's just a wonder to walk around. And, that's what I love about Rome is just seeing stuff that old. It's just really humbling and cool.
Rome is one of the very few cities that I've visited and been like, I could totally live here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a neat town for sure. And part of it is because you just be walking along and all of a sudden the wall is suddenly 3,000 years old, It's just like that kind of place. Like everything's just kind of built up on top of everything else, but stuff has been preserved or accidentally exposed. It's just a really neat town. I loved it for sure.
Yeah, and boy, just how good looking is everybody?
Yeah, those Italians, they know what they're doing when they recreate.
Oh, man. I was like, ooh, I'm in love with her, and I might be gay. Look at that guy.
They are a good-looking bunch for sure.
All of them are just so attractive. Like on a Friday night at the Spanish Steps, it's just like, how many good-looking, dark-haired people can you get together in one spot?
Chuck, I think like our most dedicated listeners know that you're just buttering up the Italians because you're going to be busting out some Italian accents. And you don't want them to be mad at you. Or I should say you're olive oiling them up.
Very nice. That's a good one.
I don't know if that was nice or good, but I appreciate the kudos.
Yeah, but we're talking Colosseum. And it's interesting to me how like, and you might have gotten all this stuff from the tour, but I was just kind of knocked out in this article Olivia put together of how sort of modern stadium going experience it felt like.
Yeah, and actually there was one fact that stood out to me. I was like, well, they've got current stadiums beat.
Oh boy.
Supposedly the packed cheek to jowl, you could fit 87,000 people in there, and the whole place could be emptied or filled within 15 minutes because the circulation was that beautifully engineered.
Yeah, I think that's a slightly dubious claim, but
okay,
I bet it was
17.
Well, I bet it was quick and like nothing like it is today. And
okay, plus 18, and I'm not going any higher than that.
Well, and back then you would just walk back to your place or take a mule or something like, post traffic experiences near American stadiums are the stuff of legend. It's awful.
Yes, for sure. But
parking decks, worst thing ever invented.
They're pretty bad. They're awful. Yes, it's true. And it's going to get a lot worse. They're developing that whole area that like kind of no man's land. It's like old train tracks and abandoned stuff in between State Farm Arena and Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Yeah, oh yeah, the Gulch.
Yes, they're developing that. So it's just going to get a million times worse down there. They should just set up helicopter service and drop people in.
Well, I think what they're doing is trying to be like, hey, don't jump in your car. Just go hang out at a bar or restaurant.
Okay.
Like there's going to be stuff to do there.
Yeah. Because there's not right now.
No, there's not much.
Not a whole lot. There's some cool hotels down there, but they're kind of tiny.
It's coming around a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So, but we're not talking about downtown Atlanta, everybody.
No.
Cool your horses. We're talking about the Colosseum, like you said. That was just kind of one fact, and I'm calling it a fact. Chuck, you're I guess you're poo-pooing it a little bit, which is fine. We can agree to disagree on that, and I think you're probably right. But still, it kind of underscores how everybody in history has looked back at the Colosseum as just this marvel of engineering and design and architecture. It was built in like 8 years, astoundingly enough, and it's survived earthquakes and all sorts of terrible catastrophes, and it's still standing in pretty good shape considering how old it is, 2,000 years. But what I didn't know when I was there, I knew, but it didn't really sink in. Mm-hmm. It is one of the most despicable places ever built in the history of Western civilization.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're going to get into the stuff that went on there. It's, it wasn't like the history of the Globe Theater or anything like that, No,
it was much bloodier. Because everyone knows, well, yes, the gladiators fought at the Colosseum. I've seen that Russell Crowe movie. True. But it was much, much worse than even that. And that was pretty bad. But like you said, we'll get into it. Let's talk about the actual Colosseum and where it came from first. How about that?
Yeah. So, there's a long history of theaters, period, in the world. The Colosseum certainly was not the first, but it was one of the first, built in stone, concrete amphitheaters. Mm-hmm. And if you're confused like I was, the term amphitheater these days can just mean a big concert venue. It doesn't necessarily mean it is just a round thing.
Right.
Because most things called an amphitheater today are the kind that were not like they wouldn't have used that term back then because they weren't fully encircled. It's like it's a theater like the Hollywood Bowl or something. You've got a stage, and then the seats are sort of built in a big hill in a semicircle. Like those are called amphitheaters now, but technically, amphi means around, and so it was. These were the first theaters to be built all the way around whatever performance was going on.
Yeah, totally. And like today's amphitheaters are much more like the old theaters. Which are exactly what you described. It's like if you go to amphitheater, you can understand what a theater was in Greece and ancient Rome. And back in the day, the Roman Senate decided that having these venues as permanent structures was decadent. So there was a ban on building permanent theaters and amphitheaters. But that doesn't mean that the ones that they built that were temporary weren't incredibly elaborate.
Oh, sure.
Our good friend Pliny mentions one wooden temporary theater in Rome, I believe, that had 3 stories of columns, 3,000 bronze statues, and they gave out free bobbleheads of Nero when you came in.
What's up with Pliny all over the place the past few years?
Like, if you're a historian, Chuck, especially of that era, you are so happy that man lived, because he sat down and said, you know what, I'm going to write all this down for posterity. I'm sure people who come later are going to want to know what we were doing at this time. And
Sure.
you know, because of Pliny.
I guess we've just done more topics. I just feel like he's the new fight or flight for us.
Yeah, he really is. Totally.
So like we said, there were stone amphitheaters. The first one ever, I believe, was in Pompeii. The very awesome and famous Pink Floyd Live at Pompeii concert was filmed there.
That's so
in
good.
front of nobody, which is a very cool, strange thing to do. And then finally, we get Nero as emperor, and he was around during the Great Fire of 64, where a lot of the wooden stuff obviously went away, including wooden amphitheaters in Rome. And Nero was able to say, like, all right, I'm going to rebuild a lot of stuff and put my stamp on Rome, but I'm not, he didn't get around to building an amphitheater before he went away.
No, he didn't. And it was a big deal that the amphitheater in Rome, the temporary one, was burned down, because already gladiator battles had been firmly established in the popular culture. So all of a sudden you had like people who couldn't go to the local blood sport event and like vent all of their frustrations and not, stage an uprising against you as the emperor. So it's something you would want to have. But because of that fire, a lot of people still to this day blame Nero for starting the fire, because he rebuilt such opulent monuments to himself on the rubble of Rome. Anyway, he eventually was toppled by a coup. He died by suicide, and that left open a power vacuum that was filled within 1 year. I think Rome had something like four different emperors, because a little civil war started. And the guy who emerged successfully was the first emperor of the Flavian dynasty, Vespasian. Very nice.
He took a look around. He had a couple of kids, a couple of sons, notably Titus and I guess Domitian.
I think so.
Okay. And he got them established as successors. So he was pretty firmly rooted at this point. And he was like, Nero came in and tried to, very successfully built a lot of monuments to himself, kind of put his own stamp on Rome, like Chuck will mention earlier in the podcast many years from now.
Right.
And I want to put my stamp on this thing. And so I'm going to build my own sort of huge Colossus theater. He didn't say that, because we'll talk about where the name came from in a second. But his son had been out, active as a military leader. I believe it was Titus.
Yeah.
For the siege of Jerusalem, came back with a lot of war spoils. And so basically, I've got all this money now, besides raising taxes and claiming public land and doing, basically whatever Vespasian wanted as far as building infrastructure and probably monuments to himself.
Sure.
He said, now I've got these war spoils, so I can build like a proper concrete, permanent stone amphitheater. Yeah,
the first one in Rome. And Vespasian was already pretty beloved. He was a really popular general, a successful general. He was popular with the Senate. So when he became emperor, everybody was like, okay, this is cool. But he really won everybody over, because Nero had been taking all of Rome's money and spending it on monuments to himself, and like this enormous multi-acre, I think like 150-acre house called the Golden House. And Vespasian did the opposite. Like, he built some monuments to himself, but he also built a lot of public monuments. And that's what the Colosseum was. It was a gift to the citizens of Rome. Like, remember that cruddy wooden temporary theater? Remember how the Senate banned temporary theaters? Here is your first state-of-the-art permanent amphitheater that you are going to watch so many people murdered in, it's going to just knock your socks off.
That's right. I had a very crass joke that I'm going to keep to myself.
Okay.
Because this is a family show.
But tell me later.
I'll tell you later.
All right.
And he was so sort of take this Nero that he built the Colosseum on the site where that estate was where Nero lived, Domus Aurea.
That's the Golden House.
That's right. That was the land on which the Golden House sat. And the lake that was built there was this artificial pond. So like, I'm going to fill that up even and really just sort of erase Nero's legacy as much as possible. And can you tell him where the name Colosseum may have come from?
Apparently there was like a 100-something foot tall nude statue of Nero. And rather than, it was bronze, and rather than melt it down and reuse it, they put it up and they propped it up in front of the Colosseum. So that was the amphitheater that had the Colossus of Nero, or the Colosseum. It's like museum, but with Coloss.
Right. But they didn't pronounce it Colosseum.
No, they called it like the amphitheater.
Yeah, no one said Colosseum until later. No one's ever said Colosseum except for me.
Yeah, you really threw me off before we started recording.
All right, I say we take a break.
Okay.
And then we come back and talk about the building itself.
Hey everybody, I want to talk to you a little bit about Tide Evo because it represents over 10 years of innovation and product development. Tide Evo is a first-of-its-kind technology where tens of thousands of minuscule fibers are spun together to form a 6 times powerful layer packed with scrubbers, brighteners, pre-treaters, and fresheners. And that's going to deliver a breakthrough clean that's so powerful, it feels like magic.
Yeah, it is kind of like magic. Tide Evo is revolutionary. A 100% concentrated, waterless laundry tile that's made of compressed microfiber soap layers rather than liquid or powder. And it's not like pods or sheets because it uses 6 layers of detergent fibers to deliver superior cold water cleaning without plastic packaging of any kind. And it provides a mess-free, lightweight solution that dissolves lickety-split. So whenever you run into a laundry challenge, turn to Tide Evo. It's revolutionary, it's magic. Try new Tide Evo. Real laundry magic.
Hey everybody, we want to talk to you about The Big Bang Theory. That's a show that became one of the most defining sitcom of its era and really built a fan base around its memorable characters and unique group dynamic.
That's right, which is why we think you'll enjoy the official Big Bang Theory podcast. It's back, covering seasons 3 and 4 of the show. Host Jessica Radloff sits down with crew and cast members like Kunal Nair, who plays Raj, Mayim Bialik, who plays Amy, and Kevin Sussman, who plays Stuart.
That's right, you're going to learn all about the Easter eggs you may have missed, behind-the-scenes stories, and how certain real-life relationships shaped some of the most memorable storylines.
Yeah, there's cast reflections years after the series aired and expanded content around famous episodes and storylines. It is exactly what you're looking for if you're a fan of the Big Bang Theory. The season is on video, so watch the official Big Bang Theory podcast on HBO Max, or listen wherever you get your podcasts, and stream episodes of the Big Bang Theory on HBO Max. You might know Michelin for its tires, or maybe even its stars, but there's so much more to the story. Michelin isn't just a tire company, it's an innovation company. From connected mobility solutions to high-tech materials, innovation fuels everything Michelin does.
That's right, and in 2025, Michelin was recognized as a most innovative company in automotive by Fast Company. It's all part of a big-picture vision Michelin calls Michelin in Motion, putting a vision of innovation at the heart of everything it does.
Yeah, and get this, Michelin's going way beyond tires. Michelin isn't just making better tires, they're helping build a better future. Why this innovation matters? Well, Michelin is taking on one of the toughest mobility challenges out there, space. Michelin is developing an airless wheel for lunar exploration.
Wow.
The Michelin Lunar Airless Wheel was named Concept of the Year, recognizing Michelin's technological expertise in the most extreme environments at the 2026 Tire Technology Expo.
That's right, and you can learn more at www.michelinman.com/y-michelin/innovation.
All right, we're back. We're talking Colosseum, big theater, stadium, outdoor arena, whatever you want to call it, amphitheater in ancient Rome. If you're talking about the building itself, it is 620 by 513 feet. 157 feet tall, which is about 15 stories, obviously. We mentioned it was made of mostly concrete, but that's, sort of the structure. There was also about 3.5 million cubic feet of stuff like wood, of course, travertine, marble, stone. And the reason why you mentioned the Colosseum is still largely standing through earthquakes and such 2,000 plus years later is because this thing was built on wetlands. So they had to go very, very deep with this concrete, with their foundation. And that's what you get. 2,000 years later, it's still going.
Yeah, there's a historian of ancient Rome named Garrett Ryan. He's got a blog called Told in Stone. And he said that they built facing walls 10 feet thick on each side that supported a ring of concrete foundation that they poured 100 feet wide and 40 feet deep. That's what the Colosseum is built on top of.
I wonder what the ancient recipe for concrete was.
Funny enough, I kind of looked that up because Roman concrete is very famous because it's still standing, and modern concrete can crumble in a matter of decades, right? So the Romans kind of had us beat. And they figured out that it was because they mixed quicklime in at really high temperatures, and it created this chemical reaction that was still kind of buzzing after the stuff was poured so that it would cure much more quickly and solidly. That's what they think it was.
So just the heat. They heated up that quickcrete.
The heat. My God, the heat.
If you love columns, you would be delighted with the Colosseum because there's a lot of columns, and they go in order from lowly to, I guess, the most revered, as they start with the Doric style at the bottom, move on up to the Ionic on the second level, and then finally, of course, you get to the very fancy Corinthian columns on the top. And they even had a pretty sizable retractable awning that went all the way around it. And if you've ever been to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, it sort of is like that, where there's a circle in the ceiling. In Atlanta, of course, that opens and shuts like a camera shutter would, or I guess an old film camera shutter would.
Sure.
So in Atlanta, it has a circle around above, like to where the field could possibly get rained on. Of course, they don't open it when it's going to rain.
Sure.
But all the humans are covered. And that was the same deal, as there was a circle in the center that always stayed open because, they didn't have retractable roofs. But they did have a retractable partial awning to keep everyone else dry.
Yeah. And then so the building was huge. The actual floor, the ground that the action took place on, the arena floor, it was an oval shape of 272 by 157 feet.
The sandbox?
Yeah, it was covered in sand because it would soak up like blood. And they needed it because a lot of blood was spilled there. And like I said, it took 8 years to build. And apparently it was finally dedicated under Emperor Titus, Vespasian's son, under his watch. And he was actually a pretty short-lived emperor, although much beloved. And his little brother, Domitian, when he became emperor, he excavated that arena floor about 10, 20 feet down and built the hypogeum, which means basement or below ground. And it was here where suddenly this thing became like this magical marvel of special effects and technical wizardry.
Yeah, totally. This is where you could really kick it up a notch when you could have 600 dudes, and a lot of, most of these were slaves, obviously. But they're down there all of a sudden with pulleys and ramps and trap doors and pulley operated elevators. And you could do all kinds of crazy magical things down there. At the least, you've got a holding area for animals and gladiators and people. And, it was sort of like you would think of any sort of backstage area of like a circus or something, except it was underground.
I think that they portrayed it in Gladiator, if I'm not mistaken, but they would have, there was a production company that built a replica of this for a PBS documentary a few years back and actually donated it to Italy so that it's on display in the Colosseum. But they showed how, you would put an animal in a cage, use some pulleys to bring it up, and as it was coming up toward the floor of the arena, a trap door would open, and then all of a sudden there's just a lion sitting there that wasn't there before. So, I mean, imagine watching a man fight a lion to begin with. Before it was like, here comes the lion walking in, here comes the man walking in, ho-hum. Now it's like a lion magically appears and starts fighting with the guy. This was like the kind of stuff that they were throwing at the citizens of Rome at the time. And from what I can tell, almost all of the citizens of Rome were eating it up. There were some people who were like, this is an awful barbaric place at the time, but most citizens of Rome were super into it.
When I saw Bon Jovi in concert, I saw them a couple of times, both by accident. They opened up for 38 Special when I was like in the 8th grade when they were a very small band.
Did you wake up like after having been drugged in like a Bon Jovi concert?
No, the second time was my senior year in high school, sort of a long story, but there was somebody at our school that couldn't find anyone to go with them, so I went with them.
Oh.
But Bon Jovi in that second one, when they were the headliner, at the beginning of the show, there's like, the band is kind of coming out and they start off the song and I'm like, where's John? Where's John? And boom, a smoke blast happens on stage. And the smoke clears and Bon Jovi is just standing there. So
bada boom, bada bing, Bon Jovi.
Exactly. He had a horizontal trapdoor that would, instead of falling through it, it would shoot him up.
Neat.
In an instant. And I was, even though it's not like I was dying to go to that show, I was pretty knocked out, I got to say.
Yeah, for sure. Buddy, you better stand exactly where they tell you to stand on that kind of trapdoor platform,
I would think so.
You don't want to get squished.
It went up with some, I think I saw behind the scenes of it one time even. It went up with some speed.
I'll bet that was fun.
Yeah.
So one of the things, we didn't mention that there were plenty of people who were in that ring, including animals that would have liked to have gotten out of that ring. So they prevented this by separating the seating area from the arena floor by a rather large stone barrier, 12-foot stone barrier with a bronze fence on top of that. And then on top of that, they lined it with elephant tusks. So
That's
it was not
easy,
to get over. But that seating area was like a snapshot of social hierarchy in Rome because they had it very much divided up socially.
Yeah. And this, like reading this, I was kind of like, it's sort of exactly how it is today.
Uh-huh.
You've got your very, very special people are sitting courtside.
Yeah.
Down there on the hardwood floor.
Spike
so they
Lee.
can yell at Jimmy Butler or LeBron or whoever.
Sure.
Senators, families, obviously, and their guests. They could bring their own folding chairs, which is pretty special at the time, I think.
Sure.
But they also had their box seats, a little higher up, what we would call like a luxury box today. And this is where, you usually see the emperor and emperor's guests, just like you would today. Any rich or famous person who has a luxury box and their hangers on.
Right. Can't you imagine those senators to just like assert their individualism, like bedazzled some of their seats that they brought?
Sure.
So after that, I had not heard of this group. There was a social stratum, in Rome called the Equestrians.
Yeah. The
The Equestrian Order were people who had originally served in the cavalry and then went on to become extraordinarily prosperous and wealthy business people. So they were merchants, tradesmen, bureaucrats, sometimes artisans. And the reason that they were taking up the slack for the business world in Rome is because the Senate was forbidden from engaging in business. So they didn't want the senators tainted. So all of that fell to these equestrians who made up that, wealthy class, but not senators or the emperor.
Yeah. So they're like in what you would call the 100 level seats. You move up to the 200 level as far as modern arenas go. And then you've got your middle class. But within that middle class at the Colosseum, it was subdivided more than 300 times for very specific areas for very specific social groups. Like, ambassadors are in this section. If you're a soldier on leave, you're over here. If you were a member of some sort of guild and middle-class guild, then you're sitting over here. And then, of course, you've got your 300 level nosebleeds. It's always been that way. It'll always be this way.
Yeah.
The cheap seats. And I don't think it's confirmed, but most of these were standing room only at the Colosseum.
Right. Yeah, they're just basing that on the fact that they are so steep and the seats so shallow. It's like this has to be standing room only.
Yeah.
And there were times where, especially during events that the emperor put on at the Colosseum where you couldn't leave. So if you're uncomfortable, TS, you had to stay there and watch because the emperor was putting this on for your benefit.
Who did they ban entirely, though? Found this interesting.
Yeah, they banned gravediggers, actors, and former gladiators. And I looked high or low for what the reason was. And gravediggers is pretty obvious. Plenty of societies around the world in different times have looked upon gravediggers as basically untouchable, like society's unwanted but incredibly necessary.
Right.
Not the way you treat incredibly necessary people.
Right.
That's how gravediggers have been treated. Actors, I saw a Stack Exchange explanation that said that they were viewed as like lowly and untrustworthy and dangerous even maybe. And then former gladiators, I saw that they were worried that they might attack other people out of revenge or something, but the person who gave that answer doubted it. So take that for what it's worth with a grain of salt.
Yeah, the actors thing tracks just because it's been well established that acting as a profession was not something that was looked kindly upon or to aspire to for most of its history.
Right, but they were considered lowlier than slaves then, because the slaves were allowed to go sit in the cheap seats. The actors couldn't even come in.
Yeah.
It's strange. And I know that Rome had a much different view of their slaves than the West African slave trade that started by the Portuguese in the 17th century. That was, I know it's still a lot different, but that's still pretty surprising.
Right, of course. I'm with you.
So, Chuck, I mentioned that you didn't have enough money to get a pottery shard. That wasn't some random weird thing I was saying earlier. That's actually what the tickets were. They had a gate, a section, and a seat number inscribed on a little shard of pottery.
Can you believe that? They're I mean, surely you turn these things back in, right?
I guess, but I didn't see any examples of any that had survived. But surely there must be a couple left. As many events as were held there.
I can't imagine they carved 50,000+ of these for every single event that they had.
No.
But, maybe so. Who knows? It was free to get in. That's kind of cool. You didn't have to pay any money, but they were not just anyone could get the tickets. They were very much distributed in the sort of the same way the seating was very structured in a hierarchical way. The tickets were distributed thusly as well.
Right.
And, that's how you got in. You got in with your little ticket. Your little ticket said what gate to go in, just like today, to get you in as quickly as possible. And like you said, they've got people out of there, it seems like, pretty quickly. The only reason I said it was dubious, because anytime they say something like very specific, like 15 minutes,
right,
and it was 2,000 years ago, I'm always like, who was timing this back then?
Right. That's why I was going up to 18 minutes.
Yeah.
I
bet it was super speedy, though.
So one of the other things about it that comes into play later, it was equipped with water fountains and flushing toilets. So there was running water that could reach the Colosseum. Just put that in your hat for later, okay?
Yeah, and that also means that during the games, there were drunk dudes at urinals barking out their sports opinions.
Yeah, for sure.
Essentially.
Some things never change.
Some things never change.
So I guess it's finally time we talk about what exactly went on there, right?
Yeah, I mean, when it first opened, Titus, do you know if Dad was still around to see it open at least, or was he dead, or was he just out of power?
I don't know. I don't think they really stepped out of power much before they died, those guys, the emperors.
Okay. But they said, all right, big grand opening. Let's get 100 straight days of action going every single day for 100 days. We're going to have a big show. And a show at the Colosseum was kind of an all-day thing. After that first 100 days, it looks like they basically had stuff during the winter, and then like special events, like to celebrate the emperor or for big, the birthdays, and not just anyone's birthday, but you can rent it out like a Chuck E. Cheese
or at the Colosseum.
Oh, that's funny. But the very first thing that would happen was a procession. It was known as a solemn procession, had music, sort of religious themes, and then they started killing animals.
Yeah, I saw that they kind of, I guess, justified or, put some sort of veneer of some sanctity on this by this whole thing basically having religious themes throughout.
Good for them.
So, yes, you're going to make me talk about the animals, huh?
Well, I mean, I said they killed animals.
Okay. I'll go into somewhat greater detail. So what they would do is they would go procure animals from all corners of the Roman Empire, sub-Saharan Africa, Asia. They would bring in tigers, lions, bears. Seriously, if they would bring in elephants. They brought in alligators, rhinoceri, just anything you can think of. Any massive exotic animal that's deadly. They went and got a bunch of them and brought them back for these events, which we should say took months of planning and a lot of people working on every single one. They weren't like, half-assed one-off, like a band in the park kind of thing. Like this is like a really huge event, right?
Oh yeah.
So I'm really
that's why that 100 days is just like crazy impressive.
Yes, it really is. So they would take these animals and then they would convert the arena floor into something like a jungle with potted plants or shrubs or something like that. And then they would bring in either animal handlers or hunters, venatores or bestiari, who would hunt the animals in front of everybody. And It wasn't like any kind of equal stuff, but the animals did sometimes kill some of the humans, and apparently the spectators just love that kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, they brought them in from all over the world as sort of like a big show of, hey, look at where we've been, look at how vast we are.
Yeah,
we're not just bringing in local the cats of Rome. There's all kinds of feral cats in Rome.
Really unsatisfying.
Could you imagine someone getting killed by 100 feral cats attacking them, though?
Hold on.
That'd be pretty fun.
Yeah, I can see it now.
And then sometimes they would have the animals fight one another. They would match up, a cheetah versus a tiger or something like that.
Sure.
Or an elephant versus a rhinoceros.
I saw a bear versus python.
Really?
Yeah, dude, they got really weird and disgusting.
I wouldn't think that would even work. You can't goad a python into fighting, can you?
I saw it written down on the internet, Chuck.
Yeah.
I can't remember where I saw it, but I think it was a legit source.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying it didn't happen, but did you see the Yelp review of the performance?
No.
Python didn't do much. Bear was disinterested. 1 star.
Yeah, I wonder, how many of these animals just didn't fight each other.
Well, and I'm sure they forced them to do whatever, I'm sure they prodded and goaded them and, injured them and did whatever they had to do.
Yeah.
But they would also just have animal tricks and stuff like that. A little more circus-like atmosphere at times when they weren't killing them or making them kill each other.
Uh-huh.
So after this is done, enslaved people come out and they clean up hundreds and hundreds of dead animals and I guess rake the sand around to mix the blood in and the guts and make sure everything was nice and tidy. Sometimes they would butcher the animals and give out the meat right there. So you could be out there for a show in the early afternoon and get a lion's thigh to keep there in the arena for the rest of the day until you can take it home and die of food poisoning.
Right. I thought about that too. That is not a great plan.
But sometimes they would feed them real lunch. They did have vending places like what do you call them? Concession stands.
Yeah.
Where you could buy stuff, and it was like a modern stadium in a lot of ways. Again.
Yeah. It's so much so that I was like, oh, okay. Is football and all professional sports just all descended from the Colosseum? And
right. How did you sneak in your weed?
I don't think they had to sneak it in back then.
Yeah, probably so.
So, after they got all the animals cleaned up and the sand raked and all that stuff, it was about noon. And noon was the time for public executions because
hooray!
They would, most people think that gladiator battles were to the death. That was actually infrequent as far as gladiator battles went, as we'll see. But they gave them plenty of death of humans with these public executions. And they would really go to town creating these elaborate deaths. Like, this is a person's death, but they would dress them up like Icarus and pretend they were flying close to the sun and set them on fire. Yeah. Like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Crucifixions, hack you to death with a sword. These reenactments are just like, I had never heard of that before in my life. I mean, it's bad enough to have a public execution, but then to make someone reenact some big famous, like story from history where the hero dies
Yep.
or whatever. It's just like it's pretty unbelievable. As far as Christians being fed to the lions go, that's something that you've heard over and over throughout history. That surely happened, but it wasn't like every single time the Colosseum had a show, they would just throw, 15 Christians out in the middle of a bunch of lions. Persecution of Christians in Rome happened over the course of a long time in a lot of places here and there, but it wasn't like that was what was always happening at the Colosseum.
Right. But yes, they were persecuted and executed for their beliefs. Like, it did happen.
Sure.
One that was documented was Saint Ignatius of Antioch, and he was martyred in 110, and he was mauled by animals. Like, he was torn to pieces by half-starved wild animals that were released on him. And he apparently had asked friends in high places not to intercede on his behalf, and he didn't fight back by all accounts. He just stood there and took it and died. And that happened a lot. Like, there was a lot of Christian and Jewish persecution in Rome because they didn't conform to the Roman mythological beliefs, right?
Right.
Their pantheon of gods. And so they were also in the minority, and people on the margins have always been persecuted, maybe not fed to the lions, but persecuted at least, and Rome was no different.
Yeah. When I worked in New Jersey at the restaurant many years ago that I worked at, there was a bartender named Pete. And if a football game was on in the bar and you walk by and were like, hey, what's up with the game? He would say, Lions 10, Christians nothing. That was like his go-to line for anybody that asked the score.
Oh, wow. I guess 2,000 years later, it's not too soon, right?
Probably not. He always got a chuckle out of most people.
Yeah.
But probably offended some people.
Sure.
Looking back. I thought Pete was so old. It's funny. I was 25. I bet Pete was 32.
30. It is, though. It's so old. When you're in your 20s, everybody's still old.
Everybody's so old.
Oh, have you seen that new Nate Bargatze special?
Yeah.
He's talking about being like 42 and he thinks he's still young, hanging out with the 20-something.
Oh, yeah. That's
some 45-year-old comes over. He's like, beat it, old man. There's a couple of young guys hanging out over here.
That's good.
Very good. He's.
But then the punchline of that, you're not going to do the punchline?
I don't remember the punchline. I think I was laughing too hard. I must not have heard it.
Oh, the punchline, he's like, yeah, you and the young guys just hanging out. And then he goes something like, and also maybe let's sit down.
Yeah, that's right. That was a good punchline.
He's good. If you're a Nate Bargatze fan, he was on an episode of Movie Crush. We talked about the movie Scream.
Oh, that's a good pick.
So go check it out.
Even if you're not a Nate Bargatze fan, go listen to that and go watch his specials.
Yeah, he has blowed up since that Movie Crush appearance.
That's awesome.
He's doing arenas now.
What?
Yes, dude. He's doing Phillips Arena or State Farm Arena.
Wow.
On his next show. It's crazy. And it's great.
Yeah, it is.
Awesome.
It couldn't happen to a better guy.
Agreed. Speaking of better guys, maybe we should take a break.
Okay.
Work on ourselves a little bit.
Work on our segues.
And then come back better guys.
Hey everybody, I want to talk to you a little bit about Tide Evo because it represents over 10 years of innovation and product development. Tide Evo is a first-of-its-kind technology where tens of thousands of minuscule fibers are spun together to form a 6 times powerful layer packed with scrubbers, brighteners, pre-treaters, and fresheners. And that's going to deliver a breakthrough clean that's so powerful, it feels like magic.
Yeah, it is kind of like magic. Tide Evo is revolutionary. A 100% concentrated, waterless laundry tile that's made of compressed microfiber soap layers rather than liquid or powder. And it's not like pods or sheets because it uses 6 layers of detergent fibers to deliver superior cold water cleaning without plastic packaging of any kind. And it provides a mess-free, lightweight solution that dissolves lickety-split. So whenever you run into a laundry challenge, turn to Tide Evo. It's revolutionary. It's magic. Try new Tide Evo. Real laundry magic.
Hey everybody, we want to talk to you about The Big Bang Theory. That's a show that became one of the most defining sitcom of its era and really built a fan base around its memorable characters and unique group dynamic.
That's right, which is why we think you'll enjoy the official Big Bang Theory podcast. It's back, covering seasons 3 and 4 of the show. Host Jessica Radloff sits down with crew and cast members like Kunal Nair, who plays Raj, Mayim Bialik, who plays Amy, and Kevin Sussman, who plays Stuart.
That's right. You're going to learn all about the Easter eggs you may have missed, behind-the-scenes stories, and how certain real-life relationships shaped some of the most memorable storylines.
Yeah, there's cast reflections years after the series aired and expanded content around famous episodes and storylines. It is exactly what you're looking for if you're a fan of the Big Bang Theory. The season is on video, so watch the official Big Bang Theory podcast on HBO Max, or listen wherever you get your podcasts, and stream episodes of the Big Bang Theory on HBO Max. You might know Michelin for its tires, or maybe even its stars, but there's so much more to the story. Michelin isn't just a tire company, it's an innovation company. From connected mobility solutions to high-tech materials, innovation fuels everything Michelin does.
That's right. And in 2025, Michelin was recognized as a most innovative company in automotive by Fast Company. It's all part of a big picture vision Michelin calls Michelin in Motion, putting a vision of innovation at the heart of everything it does.
Yeah, and get this, Michelin's going way beyond tires. Michelin isn't just making better tires, they're helping build a better future. Why this innovation matters? Well, Michelin is taking on one of the toughest mobility challenges out there, space. Michelin is developing an airless wheel for lunar exploration.
Wow.
The Michelin Lunar Airless Wheel was named Concept of the Year, recognizing Michelin's technological expertise in the most extreme environments at the 2026 Tire Technology Expo.
That's right, and you can learn more at www.michelinman.com/y-Michelin/innovation.
All right, Chuck, it's time to talk about gladiators.
Let's do it.
There's a lot of misconceptions, and we talked about this in the Spartacus episode. We talked about chariot racing and gladiators and stuff like that. That's definitely worth going to listen to if you're like, wow, ancient Rome is fascinating. I want to learn more about it. Go listen to our Spartacus episode. But there's a lot of misconceptions still. One of which, like I mentioned, is that most gladiator battles were fights to the death.
Yeah.
And that's just not how it was, in part because of how gladiators were brought into existence. They were usually criminals, prisoners of war, not looked highly upon. That's another big misconception too, that they were like today's modern MMA fighters with all these fans that are like crazy for them. Not really accurate, but that's not to say that some of them didn't make like household names of themselves and probably did have some fans, but it's just not a really apt analogy. But as I was saying, the reason why you didn't want to fight to the death is because it took a lot of time and effort and investment to train a prisoner of war or a criminal who had been condemned to fight like well and be a gladiator that's successful. So those gladiator schools were like, we're going to write you our gladiators. Do not let them fight to the death. We want them back. Rewind first, too.
Yeah. They're trying to put a good product out there because they're charging, well, they weren't charging money, I guess, but it was entertainment. And when they're all dying, then you're just, what's going to happen is all of a sudden it's, the B team, then the C team is out there.
Right.
And so, they had a lot of time invested in these guys. And I say guys because it was 100% men, except for when they occasionally had like, hey, let's bring some women out here to fight as sort of a novelty act kind of thing. But the Colosseum opened in 80 AD and they organized this, like everything else was organized to the T, Colosseum-wise. These gladiator battles were organized because they also didn't want to throw in, Russell Crowe with me, because I would get pummeled and die so quickly. It wouldn't be any fun for anybody. So they organized them by experience level, by their skill, maybe by how they fought. Like you don't want a grappler in there with a swordsman, although that could be interesting. Who knows?
Sure.
but they wanted a swordsman against a swordsman. And then they had 4 different groups, right?
Yeah, they had, 5. They had Murmillos, which were heavily armored. They had a full helmet. They had a big old shield. They had the gladiator sword that you think of. And then kind of like Murmillo 2.0 were Thraxes, where they had a smaller shield and a Thracian sword, the curved sword, but were very similar to Murmillos.
That's right. Then you had the, I knew you were going to leave this to me, Retiarius.
Nice.
I guess. They had lighter armor. These guys had a net and a trident, so there was some sort of a nautical theme going on.
All right.
So they could like throw a net over someone and trident them in the chest. Then you had the chariot battlers, the chariot fighters. They were the Esidarius. And then finally, what do we have?
The Hoplomachus.
Nice job.
I think these are the ones that you think of when you think of a gladiator. They had a helmet that had a plume on it. They had a spear. They had a short sword. They had a small round shield. I think they had like the shoulder armor.
Okay.
Pretty sure that's what Russell Crowe would have been in Gladiator.
I saw that once back then. I haven't seen it since then.
I think I've seen it twice, but it's been a while for sure. Yeah. I think it was on TNT once when I was watching TNT.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good back then.
But they would, so like you said, they'd put a Hoplomachus against a Retiarius or something like that just to see what happened with one guy with a net and another guy with a spear, you know?
Right, sure.
So they would have them fight like that. But like you were saying, they did line them up according to skill level. And one thing that bears mentioning, so the events of the Colosseum were free, but the gladiator schools still charged whoever was putting on the event or sponsoring the event for renting the gladiators.
Yeah, how did the money work? If they weren't making any money, did the state just fund it all?
Yes. Holding an event at the Colosseum, free to everybody who could get a ticket, 50,000 people, was a really good way of showing everybody how incredibly wealthy you were.
Right.
Or
because you collected so many taxes.
Pretty much. Or if you were the emperor himself, it was a way it was like a gift to the citizenry. It was a way to keep them like kind of sedated in line, like TV today. Yeah. It's the exact same premise as from the emperor's perspective. But It was also a way to like generate belovedness and adoration from the populace by putting on a really good event at the Colosseum.
Yeah, I'd be curious about, and we probably will never know these specifics, but coming from a world of like TV and film production, I would love to know how it literally worked as a production, like a big production like this with budgets and production managers, essentially, whatever they called them.
Yeah.
I mean, they had to have people doing all that. And I'm sure there were fights over, what they could afford and what they couldn't.
Yeah. Like how much money did that guy have?
Gotta have that elephant.
Exactly. So
we've trotted out alligators 3 days in a row. I can't get another alligator in there.
We have 97 more days to go.
Wow. Amazing.
So I said that the gladiator battles have been around for a while by the time the Colosseum was built. Been around for at least 300 years. They started out as part of funeral games, and everybody was like, well, we like this. So it kind of became like a thing that wasn't just part of funerals, right?
Yeah.
And some gladiators were like well-known. And there was one who might have been the most well-known of all time. His name was Flamma, the Flame. And apparently he was a captured Syrian soldier.
Did they call him Flamma Jamma?
I don't know. Surely somebody did.
Okay.
We are from now on.
Yeah.
So he turned down his freedom 3 different times. They would offer you your freedom by giving you a rudis, a wooden sword that was symbolic of your transition back into normal society. 3 times he turned it down and finally died in a battle at age 35. And it's long been considered that he was, just in it for the money or the glory or the fame. But somebody I read suggested that he was doing it because he was trying to stand for his culture, because the Romans viewed Syrians very lowly, very cowardly, and Flamma, the Syrian soldier, is like the greatest gladiator in all of Rome. So they suggested that might be why he kept fighting.
So Flamma Jamma was like, I'm not taking that wooden sword.
Exactly. You
Flamma
can take
Jamma
that
doesn't
wooden
do
sword.
wood.
That's right.
There was also an emperor who got involved, gladiator style, Commodus, who was a real piece of doo-doo. He reigned from 180 to 192, and it was he didn't really fight people. He would go out there, to boost his own ego, apparently hundreds and hundreds of times as a quote unquote gladiator. But they would submit to him immediately, or they would submit to him, and he would just murder them.
Yeah.
He had like people with disabilities out there dressed up as monsters with sponges painted like rocks, that supposedly throwing at him, and he would hunt them with arrows. He would come out in public with their blood smeared on him. He would kill animals. He was just a real awful human being. There's one story where he supposedly shot 100 bears in one morning.
Yeah.
And he was terrible.
To make it even worse, he would charge the Roman treasury 25,000 pieces of silver per appearance. That he said, I'm going to appear, and so give me 25,000 pieces of silver. And then there's one other thing that I want to mention, because the Colosseum eventually started to crumble, as we'll talk about in a second. But during its heyday, and possibly toward the beginning of it, there are contemporary accounts of filling the Colosseum with water 5 or 6 feet deep, putting ships in there and staging mock naval battles. I'm pretty sure we talked about that in the Spartacus episode or some other episode, because it's really familiar. It may have happened. It definitely happened in an artificial lake made outside of the Colosseum. But some of these contemporary accounts are like, no, we're talking about the Colosseum itself.
Yeah. You know what my bet is that they did it at least once in the Colosseum, and we're like, this is, what did they call them? Naumachias?
Yeah.
That they were like, we should build our own place to do this. And they built one near the Tiber River that was exclusively for these mock naval battles, because I think the Colosseum was probably problematic. That would be my guess.
I think you're a historian now. But you can stop holding on to that fact that there was running water that could make it to the Colosseum, everybody.
That's right.
So I said the Colosseum started to crumble, right?
Yeah, I mean, quite literally and metaphorically. When the rise of the Christian church in Rome, obviously they would come along and say this kind of brutality can't stand. The decline of the Roman Empire, period. And people weren't as into this stuff. It was a moment in time that it was super popular, and like anything like that.
400-year moment in time.
Yeah, 400-year moment in time. But that would wane. And the first earthquake hit in 443, which damaged it. But it was still being used like as an amphitheater, I think, into the 6th century.
Right.
And then the medieval period comes along, and for about 500 years, they made it into sort of like a live, work, play space.
Yeah, exactly. With shops, warehouses, the common area, the arena floor became a common area. And then it got hit by an earthquake again in 1349. And the structure collapsed partially, and it ended up becoming like a strip for parts. A lot of people scavenged stone from it and other kind of works, including artworks, but also they used it for like building materials too.
Yeah.
And they used some of this at the direction of the various popes over the years, because they would take it and build Christian churches and cathedrals with this. So because so much of the Colosseum had been used to build churches, and because so many Christians had been killed there, the Colosseum itself became kind of a Catholic holy place, and became an official holy place in 1749 when Pope Benedict XIV blessed it. He said, this is now a Christian holy site. And that protected it from any more pillaging or destruction, and actually led to some early restoration projects.
Yeah, so they started to get to work on it to protect it a little more. After the unification of Italy in 1870, it became, a legit national monument. Of course, Mussolini comes along and fully uncovers the, how'd you pronounce that? Hypogeum?
That's what I'm going with.
Yeah. And, further rebuilt it, further stabilized it, brought out some of the, restored some of the history for sure. And then, I think it wasn't until like the late 20th century that it, modern restoration, like really nice techniques came along to make sure that it was not only safe for tourists, but like a robust place to, keep making money off of, or not keep, but I guess, for some of the first times making money off.
Yeah, some people consider it the greatest tourist attraction of Rome. Apparently, it brings in 6 million visitors a year. And I think there were 6 million people there when Yumi and I went.
That's a lot of people.
It is a lot.
Yeah, maybe that's why I didn't go in.
It's very neat, though. We didn't make it down to the Hypogeum. I don't know if it was open yet for visitors. Yeah, no, 2021, no. We definitely weren't able to. I would like to go back and go down there.
Yeah, I got to pay to go in this time.
Okay, I'll cover your admission. How about that?
Oh, thank you.
Well, since Chuck thanked me, everybody, that means it's time for listener mail.
This is a good one. This is about skydiving. It's like, hey guys, got a good story. I took my boyfriend, now husband, and his sister skydiving for his 32nd birthday about 10 years ago in New England. And had gone once before, so the nerves were gone, but I was just full of pure excitement and adrenaline. I was in the middle of having my front tooth replaced. Do you see where this is going yet?
No, not yet.
And I had a flipper retainer. Do you see where this is going yet?
No, not yet.
Okay. Chuck, I think you went through this experience. Of course. I remember the flipper retainer. I asked the staff if I should remove it, but they said, no, it's pretty snug in there. You'll be fine. I was feeling vain and didn't want my toothless face in the video. And guess what happened? During the free fall, I was a little frustrated by needing to interact and entertain to the camera, and I really wanted to just enjoy the moment. So half jokingly, I blew a kiss, then flipped a bird at the cameraman. As instant karma would have it, my fake tooth flew out. I panicked and motioned to the gap in my mouth to the cameraman, and he just gave the thumbs up, all good. And I remember thinking, no, not all good. This just got so much more expensive, and I have no tooth. And you can even see me sort of looking around for it in mid-fall, which is
I did not
funny.
see that coming.
I hope that it would be magically floating next to me as I plummeled to the earth.
That'd be amazing.
I just say plummeled. I think that's pummeled and plummeted at the same time.
I think that's a great new word you just made.
Not my smartest moment, but desperation took over. And this is from Aaron Bogan, and Aaron sent the video, which is on YouTube, and it's very funny to watch Aaron's. You can't see the tooth fly out, but you see immediately Aaron grab her mouth and motion around and sort of look around, and it's just very funny. So let me see if I can even find how you would. Skydive New England presents, Aaron's Skydive from 9 years ago. And it's got 573 views, 2 of which were mine. So maybe we can make Aaron a little more famous.
There you go. Thanks a lot, Aaron. That was indeed, Chuck, like Chuck said, a good email. Thank you for that. Sorry that happened, but at least you got a great story out of it. And if you want to be like Aaron and tell us one of your great stories, we want to hear it. You can send it to us via email at stuffpodcast@iheartradio.com.
Stuff You Should Know is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.
The next time you end up with something on your shirt, don't turn to your usual detergent. Check out Tide Evo. Tide Evo represents over 10 years of innovation in product development. It's a revolutionary 100% concentrated waterless laundry tile made of compressed microfiber soap layers rather than liquid or powder. It's not pods and it's not sheets. It uses 6 layers of detergent fibers to deliver superior cold water cleaning without plastic packaging. It's mess-free, lightweight, and dissolves quickly. Try new Tide Evo. Real laundry magic.
Mom, can I have Lingo Kids? Dad, Lingo Kids, please!
When did we become the Lingo Kids house?
No idea. Last week it was dinosaurs. This week it's...
Lingo Kids!
Why Lingo Kids?
Because it's the best thing ever. We can play games with astronauts, wild animals, and superheroes.
With more than 4,000 interactive games, songs, and shows, Lingo Kids is the #1 entertainment platform for young kids.
So, no dinosaurs?
And dinosaurs! Lingo Kids!
Everything kids love. Download it for free.
You know, you could be adored by everyone and still completely ignored by your cat. Trust me, I know. But if you feed your cat Sheba, you can go from being ignored to truly adored in 12 days guaranteed or your money back. Sheba has a full menu of products, appetizers, entrees, treats, even a kitten's menu. It's so cute. So Sheba has a product for even the pickiest eater. Like Sheba Puree, it's made with bone broth, their chef-inspired flavors. It's got a smooth and creamy texture that cats love and contains no corn, wheat, soy, or artificial flavors. It's food that your cat's gonna love. To learn more, check out Sheba.com. That's SHEBA.com.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.